And now I would like to introduce our first speaker, Samantha McKernan from the Maneki Neko Cat Rescue. And she's talking about going out of business. Samantha established Maneki Neko Cat Rescue in October 2012 after many years of private cat rescue and as a foster carer for other rescue organisations. In this time, Maneki Neko has grown from rehoming 89 cats in its first year to over 1,000, as well as introducing innovative programs including community outreach and low-cost desexing in Victoria to improve the welfare outcomes of cats. Samantha has recently retired from a corporate position to concentrate on the goals of Maneki Neko Cat Rescue, resulting in the opening of Neko HQ, which comprises a retail fundraising store and adoption lounge. Thank you very much. Please welcome her to the podium.
Just forward? Or it's upside down? Can't confuse me at the start. Hi everyone, I'm Samantha. I'm so excited to be here and talk to you today. I do tend to talk really fast, so I'll try and slow it down a bit. But hopefully you can keep up and I can operate the slide mechanism. There we go. So the first thing I thought I'd explain is the name. The name's hard. People can't wrap their mouths around it, but it's Japanese. It means lucky cat. It refers to many legends and stories in Japanese culture about cats saving the lives of their owners. So it's got a really nice, meaningful name to it. So we chose to use that as our name because we want to bring good luck and good fortune to all the cats that we look after in Victoria and all the cats you look after around Australia. The great thing about Japan is they hold their cats in really high regard. The Maneki Neko has its own shrine. There's a Maneki Neko festival. I haven't been, but it sounds fantastic. And you can also see them in the window of nearly every Asian restaurant, the little cat doing the little wavy thing. Yes. Some of them are really tacky, but some of them are really beautiful. So they're just those little statues. So it's like a horseshoe or finding a coin. It just means good luck. So to pronounce it again, Maneki Neko. It sounds really sexy when a Japanese person says it. It doesn't sound quite so sexy when the Australian accent says it, but I promise you it is sexy. I also want to let you know I didn't lose my luggage. This is just how I dress. So a bit about us. We were established in 2012 with very little knowledge of cat rescue. In my introduction, I had a corporate job, totally unrelated to animals whatsoever. I knew that I adored cats, and I nursed one of my own cats through diabetes and myeloma. And in my heartbreak, I thought I could perhaps help cats somehow. So I signed up to a rescue group in our local area to foster, and 4 rather disgruntled kittens turned up on my doorstep to live in the spare room. I had no idea what I was doing. But the 4 little grumps were in there, and one of them still lives with me, and I love him. His name's Spidey, and he's not grumpy anymore. He's a big smoocher. So what's different about Maneki Neko? So we've focused not only on rescue, but also on the fundraising, advocacy, outreach, prevention, and peer support. So we've implemented programs that can be replicated by other groups, and we're very keen to work with other groups to help them bring these type of programs into place. We do this on a very small budget, particularly comparatively to many of the shelters and pounds that you guys all work with. So I'll tell you a little bit more about those programs a little bit later. So the thing that we found though is that rescue is really only part of the solution, and we know this from things like the 11 principles of no kill, the getting to zero principles, and so on. So it's really just one activity in a range of activities that we need to bring about great changes to cats. There was a parable, and I think many of you have probably heard this parable, but it's called The Babies in the River. Has anyone heard this? Yeah? No? Maybe? I'll tell you it anyway. I'll tell you my version of it. So the parable really is about babies being thrown in the river, or babies arriving in the river, and the village around the river finding these babies floating down the river. So they all run to rescue the babies. We've got to rescue these babies in the river. And so more babies keep coming down the river. More and more babies. And the whole town becomes involved in rescuing these babies. We've got to get these babies out of the river before they drown. And I'm sure you know this feeling when it comes to animals. They just keep coming and coming and coming. So the story goes that someone finally realised that this was absolute madness, that we're rescuing these babies out of the river and we're getting them safe and warm, but we can't get them all and some of them keep going. So somebody decided to walk up the river and find out where were the babies coming from, who's putting babies in the river, and what can we do to prevent it? Because it has to stop. And for rescuers, it's hard. When you realise you can't save them all, those babies are going to keep coming down the river. You need to figure out why they're there. And that's really the journey that we went on as a rescue group. Is we cannot rescue every cat that we get asked to rescue. We get inundated with emails, Facebook posts tagged on everything under the sun. We get approached by the large shelters. We get approached by other rescue groups. We have advocates, and you feel like you're drowning. And it really is really hard. So the first thing that we really felt was necessary was fundraising. We find a lot of groups, particularly the small rescue groups, they're self-funded and they drive themselves into the ground because they just can't keep up with the money. They're using their own money, they're working day and night, and it gets to a point where it's unsustainable. So no money means no rescue, but fundraising means time away from rescue. But we really had to sit down and figure out that if we didn't spend that 50% of our time doing fundraising, we couldn't spend the 50% of time doing rescue, and you can't do one without the other. So we found lots of people that perhaps couldn't foster or couldn't be hands-on with the animals, but that wanted to help in meaningful ways. And some of them, it might be that they run a little auction, some of them might do a barbecue, and then some of them might, set up a trivia night and raise 10 grand for us. So whatever people are willing to offer, we will take, absolutely. So we got pretty good at fundraising. So then it was our time to celebrate. We saved over 2,500 cats in our first 5 years. We paid all our vet bills. We had happy, healthy cats in loving homes, which was our core objective. But it doesn't help us understand where all the cats are coming from and why rescue is needed. We had plenty of cats to rescue, enough money to pay all the bills, but were we actually making a difference? And the stats tell us we rehomed 1,100 cats last year, 1,000 the year before, and so on. So in our 5 years, we grew exponentially, and I think we've done a fantastic job, and I love my team. They've done really, really well. But has it really made a difference? Should we really be celebrating? So it's time to get to the real issue. Perhaps we shouldn't be celebrating. Those 2,500 cats, we made a great difference for them individually, but have we actually made a difference to the entire industry or the entire jurisdiction? Or have we just done what the larger shelters should be doing themselves? Have we done their job for them? Have we made it easy for them to rely on rescue rather than actually implementing their own programs or duplicating the programs that we've implemented? Sometimes we feel like we make their stats look great, and they do. They're getting better all the time, which is awesome. But have they actually solved the problem, and have they done it in a way that's sustainable? So perhaps we've been looking at it all wrong. So we thought about this and we wondered, what if we looked at the killing of cats like it was a disease? If we had a disease to cure, we'd think about the way we manage that disease. And in many ways, the issue of cats is like a disease. So we could apply the principles of disease management to animal welfare. Like many diseases, research and trials have been undertaken to find ways to treat, prevent, and even cure animal management, to bring about live outcomes, reduce pound intakes, and manage community expectations. So the things we'd look at if we were treating this as a disease is it preventable? Is it treatable? We know there are programs to help people keep their pets rather than have them surrender them or to have them return to them should they get lost. We know that homes can be found for even the shy ones, and we know that funds can be raised to do that. Is it preventable? We know low-cost, no-cost desexing and TNR works at reducing intake into pounds and shelters, and we know that outreach programs work to assist the financially disadvantaged. And the last one, is it curable? I came to my first Getting to Zero conference in 2013, and I heard jurisdiction after jurisdiction in the United States and elsewhere that have done it. They've actually done this, and it works. So in 2015, the message was reiterated. We know there is a cure. We just need to implement it. I'm really inspired by the goals of the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. I don't know if any of you are familiar with them. Juvenile diabetes is type 1 diabetes. It's the one you're normally born with, not the one I'm going to get when I have another cheesecake. But their goals are very interesting because their goals are that if once they cure type 1 diabetes, they won't be needed anymore. They're out of business. It's over. They can all go home. Shut up shop, pack their bags, go home. We've achieved our mission. So they really are a very interesting organisation. And I take inspiration from what they're trying to do. So really this leaves us with, where do we go to from here? Maneki Neko is a group of dedicated volunteers working day and night to rescue cats in Victoria, cats that need to be rescued. But on the other hand, we know there's a much bigger picture and a cure that simply needs to be implemented. We know there are big shelters doing all the things that we know work: innovative adoption programs, low cost, no cost desexing, advocacy, outreach, peer support, and so on. TNR is probably the missing piece of that puzzle in Australia, but I'll set that issue to the side. And we also know that we've been telling this story, at least for the last 5 years that I've been aware of, and I know it's been longer and longer since we had an awakening in this country about animal welfare. So we've been told this time and time again, but very little has changed. That's not my slide. There it is. So we decided that if telling them doesn't work, perhaps we needed to show them that these programs can work, can be done on a low budget, and will bring about huge changes to the lives of cats in Victoria. So some of the things we've done in the last year or so, we've partnered with reputable pet stores to do adoption days. We've partnered with the Lost Dogs Home, who are here today, thankfully, to do low-cost desexing. So we hired the bus. We were the first rescue group to actually hire the bus off one of these groups and do our own low-cost desexing program in partnership with them. We desexed over 100 cats in 3 days for an investment of $5,000. So again, back to fundraising. Those events were booked out within a few days and people travelled from country, across the other side of town, all over the place. But they were willing to get up early in the morning, travel the long distances, because they know it's the best thing for their pets. And the most recent thing we've done in terms of an innovative adoption program is we've opened the Cat Lounge. So you might have heard of cat cafes. Cat Lounge is just a big open space. People pay to come in and pat cats. They can also adopt those cats. So again, it's improving the standing of cats in society. And people post these fabulous photos from the Cat Lounge. So we've got 15 resident cats there at the moment, and those are constantly changing as we adopt cats out. And the other thing that we do is the peer support. So we've also established the donation bank, where we have all of our donated items available for any group to come and get. If you can use it, come and get it, absolutely. So sort of pooling our donations and helping other groups. I don't know how many of these I put on here. A few. Lots. There we go, Neko HQ, with our little waving cat again. So it's in Preston. If you're in Victoria, come down, buy some cat stuff, come and pat the cats. You'll love it. So where does that get me to? It gets us to Maneki Neko going out of business. Drawing on the example of the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, it is our goal to be out of business. We need to implement a cure, so we can pack up and go home. This is our end game, and if all goes according to plan, rescue will be something that is reserved for special cases. It certainly won't be the norm, and it definitely won't be depended on by the larger shelters. Those of you in rescue might remember a time when you slept in on a Sunday. I don't. Waking up to think, what will I do? What will I do today? Go see a movie, visit a friend. I don't remember those days. But it sounds nice, and it can be a reality if we all look at the bigger picture and figure out where the best place for us to fit in is. So I don't know what that looks like, and I know for Maneki Neko, we'll still be rescuing for quite some time. The babies are still going to come down the river, but if we can stem the tide and reserve rescue only for those special circumstances where it's fallen outside of the norm, then I think we'll be in a much better place. Thank you.